Hello, my name's Anthony Spiller from Elkay Laboratories Products Limited. The reason I'm here today is to talk to you about sustainability within your laboratory regarding the specific subject of plastics. Elkay are a plastic consumable company. Most of our products are intended for single use, but we're trying to reduce plastic waste wherever possible using our recycling services and showing you some products that you can use to be a bit more sustainable in the lab. All our catalogues are FSC approved, and we use vegetable inks in the printing of all our catalogues and also our marketing literature. We're a supplier on the Interregional Laboratory Agreement, Lab 4040, so you can find all the products I'm going to show you today in that area. All our deliveries are delivered to yourselves free of charge, and all our deliveries are carbon neutral because we use FedEx couriers who now use electric vehicles and AdBlue in all their delivery services. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you some of our products in our range and we can take it from there. So here are some of the products in our range. As I mentioned, this is our Eco Loose Fill. It's manufactured from GM-free sustainable raw materials in a low energy process, and these are essentially cornstarch nuggets. They're 100% biodegradable and compostable. They're odorless, dust-free, and they're lightweight to reduce shipping costs. So obviously that helps on the tonnage for the delivery service, and also helps the environment because these can be fully recycled rather than your standard polystyrene packaging peanuts. So if you see these guys in your deliveries, please don't throw them in the bin. You can compost them, put them in your green bins, or recycle them into any of your recycling bins that are provided in the laboratories. One of Elkay's core products is the Liquipette, the pasture pipette, the humble pasture pipette, or our Liquipette trademark. Arguably the market leading product in the UK. Heavily used in the clinical market, not so much in the education market, but if you go to a lot of universities you will see these for transfer of general liquid. They are low density polyethylene virgin materials, so obviously not made from any recycled materials, unfortunately, but as a result of obviously feedback with clients, there's a lot of these used, and usually they're used just for waters or even just for general liquids, acids, alkalis. Mild acids and alkalis, obviously, because it's low density polyethylene. So we've now started recycling these products as well. So if you use a lot of these guys and you want to recycle them, give your local representative from Elkay a quick call, and we can take it from there, or visit our website. Moving on to another product, one of the biggest use products in the lab, I would probably say, is the marker pen. Everybody has one or 10 in their top pocket. Everybody has some at home. So we have two types of marker pen. We have the standard Elkay laboratory marker, which is your general purpose laboratory marker. Great product for the laboratory. It is made specifically for laboratories. So, you know, instead of using a Sharpie, you want to be using a specific laboratory marker. Now you say, oh, well, you know, Sharpies come out of the office budget. But essentially, with Sharpies, you go through probably 50 a year in most labs, if not more, and they're all just thrown in the bin afterwards because they dry out really quickly. They don't write on most plastics, whereas these pens are designed specifically for that purpose. They all have, if I show you, an anti-frame nib. I don't know if you can see that very well, obviously on the video here, but that nib, although it looks really large, it actually writes really, really fine. And for your general day-to-day stuff, this is a fantastic laboratory marker pen, you know, for writing just on general plastics, that sort of thing. If you want something a little bit more robust, you want to move over to our Secure Line marker. This is your alcohol-resistant marker, and basically this will write on anything from cold surfaces to glass, metal, wood, just about anything, and it's pretty difficult to get off. Again, similar system to our other marker pen. I'll just open this up to show you. Bear with me 1 second. So again, very fine writing nib. Although it looks quite big, it does give you a very nice writing area, and you can even write on 0.2mm PCR tubes with this with ease. And once it's dry, you need to leave it a couple of seconds to dry, and it will then pretty much virtually not come off, even with alcohol or vigorous scrubbing. If you get it on your hands, it's also quite difficult to get off, so just be a bit careful with these, and don't smell them too much. They are obviously made with some strong chemicals, so they last a bit longer. But these pens here, if you use these in the lab versus a Sharpie, I guarantee your lab marker waste will reduce significantly, almost by 90%. The top one there, the Secure Line, I've got one in my bag. I've been with Elkay 12 years, and I pretty much wrote with it every day since I started at Elkay. So all through my representative days in London and in the north, and it's still going strong. It's a little bit busted, a little bit more faded than that nice one there, but I write with it every day. Probably not as much as you guys in the lab, but we've had clients come back to us and say they bought a box of these marker pens, and you know, 5 years later they've still only used 2 out of the box. So just bear that in mind. They're a little bit more expensive probably than your Sharpie. Your Sharpie comes in about 80 pence. These are over £1 each, roughly. These ones here about £1.20 on the earlier agreement, and this one here probably about £1.60. But obviously you're only going to need one for multiple years, so bear that in mind. Our next project range, looking at sustainability, is obviously our recycling system. All our tips we have here, we have a filter barrier tip and our Refill Pro, 2 of our big sellers, and we offer free recycling services on all our tip boxes, and also the wafers from our refill system. Now, a lot of people ask me about the recycling. It is available on our website for you to read more, but basically as long as 80% of the waste is Elkay, we will take some other boxes as well. If you're making the move over to a laboratory system, obviously one of the biggest things in everybody's minds is, oh my god, I don't want to change all my boxes. Not a problem. If you did move over to our refill system, you like the pricing, you like the system, you like the fitment, which is a multiple universal fit, primarily around Gilson and Sartorius, because that's who we represent, is Sartorius in the UK, then we will actually recycle all your old tip boxes free of charge, and they will obviously then be ground down and turned into new materials like park benches and recycled aggregate for things like you know, recycled bark and stuff like that. So I want to show you our refill system. This system here, obviously being a refill system, uses 30% less plastic on every purchase, because once you've got the system in place, once you've got the boxes, the same box is used for our 10 microlitre, which I haven't got, which has a red insert. This is our 200 microlitre version here, and the 300 microlitre version for multi-channels. They all use the same base box, so you don't need multiple different types of boxes, again reducing the waste. We have our 1.25mm extended version there, which is a great product for multi-channel work or for getting to the bottom of Pyrex bottles. So again, very simple system. All the decks are reinforced. You literally will pick up a deck, obviously once you've used it, recycle the deck into our recycling bags. All the boxes are actually empty, so even after you've finished using a refill system, if you just wanted to use the box to say store Eppendorf tubes for autoclaving, because obviously the boxes are polypropylene, they can be autoclaved, or if you just want to use them for storing 0.2mm tubes in the freezer, you can. They're fully stackable. Obviously our boxes, they have a little ridge in them. I'll show you the tips as well. So great quality tip, graduated, ultra clear, virgin polypropylene. Same with the 300 microlitre, obviously nicely graduated tips, if you can see that there against the dark background. And same with the 1.25mm tip as well. Great little products, and yeah, if you want some free samples, just contact your local representative. He can send you out some samples. The box itself, this is the box. It's got a nice kind of pinky plum colour at the bottom. A lot of people like it to brighten up the lab. All our wafers are colour coded, and these wafers are made with 30% less plastic as well. Now, our old system was just a grey plastic, but we do use colorant now. The grey plastic, you used to be able to see that they were fully recycled materials being used for the wafers, just because of the colour. Normally, recycled materials have like a grey kind of off kind of colour, because obviously you have a mix of plastics in there. So that's the system there. As I said, we will recycle anything that you wish to recycle on it, even some of the tips. If the tips are only being used with water, or mild acids or reagents, you can actually recycle them, because they are virgin polypropylene as well. So bear that in mind. For any recycling services, check our website out. We do bag-based systems. We also do on-site bins, which we supply to numerous universities as well. And we have recently, on request from some of the larger universities, started recycling centrifuge tubes now as well. So centrifuge tubes are virgin polypropylene with a polyethylene cap. And basically, if you're using them for waters, we have a lot of water labs or environmental labs who use them for research, but essentially they're only putting waters or soils or mild acids and alkalis. If you have the ability to wash those out, we will actually recycle them, as long as you separate the tube and cap. We can provide you bags to do this, or again, you can have a bin type system. For any further information, contact your local Elkay representative. I wanted to quickly touch on our filter tips here. I know it's not a product that most people would associate with anything to do with recycling, but our filter tips have a completely removable lid. Now, some people don't like this. I totally understand that. You know, I wasn't the biggest fan until I started seeing the benefits of having these on my days at the Forensic Science Service, because believe it or not, I was a lab person as well at one point. I've gone to the dark side, as some people would say. But these filter tips here, again, used heavily in the COVID-19 response at the moment. Very high quality, low binding polymer filter tip. They have a low binding technology through them, and you know, your price on the Erla is about £34. Fantastic, fit all pipettes. We do all different sizes, but the reason we have a removable lid is quite simple. Most people tend to use a whole deck of these because anybody using filter tips is usually doing PCR, which is what I used to do. And basically, what this lid can do, by coming off, obviously it's a sterile product, 10 to the -6 sterile air wrapped from memory. Obviously you can see fully printed for recognition, obviously 200 microliter filter tip sterile, gives you the reference for reordering on our website. But basically this lid can come off and this can react as your reagent reservoir. Now that reduces another bit of plastic being used in the laboratory. Rather than a tip lid just being there and being disposed of, this lid can actually be reused for something else. Now the other nice thing about our products as well, these filter tips, all of them, except for the larger size, each tip has its own individual well. Now that aids with multi-channel loading, but more importantly, once you've used this tip box, you can obviously recycle it in our services. Just throw it into the recycling and we will take it away and obviously turn it into new materials. Or once the tips are out, they leave a very nice little indent, and a lot of people use these, believe it or not, for putting 0.2mm PCR tubes in or rotogene tubes in. Now basically that then becomes, with your 0.2mm tubes in, a nice little storage box which can be put into the freezer for long-term storage or into the fridge to stop you losing those 1 or 2 tubes out of the bag or having to sort them again. You can keep them in your rows, obviously in your 96 format. Just a thought, but that's what some of our clients do, so I'm sharing some of the tips that we have. The tip we have here, this is a very special tip, this one. This is just standard 200 microliter tip, but it's anything from standard. This tip here encompasses 3 volumes. It'll allow you to use a P20, for talking Gilson terms, a P100 and a P200. So basically 3 pipettes will fit this tip. It's an extended 200 microliter tip, and what we've designed it for, we've designed it purely with feedback from our clients. Now this tip here will allow you to just have 1 tip box in a fume cabinet if you're working down to 2 microliters, because these tips will do 2 to 200. So basically you can just have 1 tip box in a fume cabinet. Now obviously that reduces waste because you're only using 1 tip box in there. You won't be going through half a tip box and then disposing of it because you're worried about sterility. You will literally just have this 1 tip box in the fume cabinet, and it will fit 3 different types of pipettes. So you can never make that mistake of putting a 20 microliter tip on a 200 or vice versa, which obviously everybody does try it once in a while, especially when you're busy on your projects at the time. So that's the Elkay range for sustainability. We don't have many products in regards to other larger companies, but as I said, we literally only focus on plastics. We're doing everything we can to obviously, you know, reduce our plastics, but these are some of the products that I would recommend having a look at or having to think about. Even if you're not using the Elkay brand, you're using some other brands, you know, the onus is on you guys to push us as obviously companies to think a bit more sustainable. And you know, we can do everything in regards to recycling, but the change has to come from you guys. You know, we're using vegetable inks to print our packaging, you know, doing all these great things that we're trying to do. But believe it or not, we've been recycling in Elkay almost 15 years now. And I can tell you, we have a lot less customers recycling than you would think. We push it, we try to get everybody recycling. We're doing as much as we can as a company to reduce our carbon footprint. You know, eco packaging, FSC approved, obviously packaging, and also our boxes are FSC approved, usually 99% recycled materials, apart from our white boxes, because obviously they're fresh, clean boxes. But obviously, you know, you guys also need to make a change in the laboratory. It's a way of thinking. You need to think a bit more sustainable. You know, could I use something that's a bit better? Should I change marker pens rather than going through all these Sharpies? You know, companies are thinking about it. You know, companies like ourselves, even our reps who are out in the field, you know, they're all using eco cars, whether they're eco boosts. We've just started moving over to hybrid electrical vehicles, and this is all to try and increase our sustainability offerings. So I suggest you have a look at you know, these kind of changes for yourself. And yeah, thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope your day goes well. Thanks very much for your time. Speak soon. Bye now.